Hey there, fellow strategists! Welcome to another exciting dive into the world of Nine Kings, the game where your deck isn't just a bunch of cards. It's your kingdom, your army, and your path to victory. If you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to figure out which rulers are worth building around or how to get the most out of your faction cards, you're in the right place. Today, we're breaking down the Ultimate Nine Kings tier list, and trust me, this one's going to change how you play. Now, I know it's tempting to mix in cards from all over the place, but here's the deal. Focusing on your main faction first is the real game changer. Each faction has its own flavor, strengths, and sneaky little tricks that can give you the upper hand if you know how to use them right. So whether you're loyal to the Iron Legion or riding the chaos with the Shadow Clans, we've got tips to help you squeeze every drop of power from your rulers. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking factions in Nine Kings. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
The factions in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, King of Progress. Alright, let's talk about the King of Progress, the faction that feels like it accidentally wandered in from a science fiction convention while everyone else is at a medieval Renaissance fair. This guy is all about upgrading your plots like a mad scientist, which sounds great on paper, right? But here's the kicker. Playing as King of Progress is like juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle. It's tricky, requires serious finesse, and if you don't hit the right card combos, you're basically just waving those torches around hoping for a miracle. Now, the best thing about this king is definitely the upgrade game. The Concabulator is a beast. Once you get it upgraded to level 3, it upgrades all your plots in one go. Then, you can remove it and do it all over again. It's like having a magical factory that keeps churning out upgrades non-stop. The Executioner card is pretty handy too. It targets the weakest enemy units, making sure no low-health baddies sneak past your defenses. An Overhaul? That one's a bit of a wild card. It destroys one plot to upgrade 2 random ones, and each use makes it even stronger. It's a risky play, but when it works, it feels like cheating the system. But here's where King of Progress trips over his own shoelaces. His offensive firepower is, well, let's just say it's not winning any popularity contests. You can't just steamroll your enemies here. You have to be smart, patient, and extremely picky with your cards. The faction demands synergy like a demanding diva. Without the right team-up, you're basically stuck watching your upgrade train slowly crawl while everyone else is launching fireworks. If you want to give this one a shot, keep an eye on the perks. Expansionist starts you off with an extra plot per rank, which is a nice head start for your upgrade empire. Persistent gives you 2 free re-rolls per rank, which is basically a second chance at glory when your first card draw is a disaster. Combine those perks with some lucky card pulls, and suddenly the King of Progress feels less like a headache and more like a genius architect of destruction. Well, a slow, methodical destruction, but destruction nonetheless. The factions in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, King of Blood and King of Nothing. Alright, let's jump into the chaotic swarm of the King of Blood faction. Imagine a horde of tiny, fragile demons flooding the battlefield like Zerglings from StarCraft, but with a dark demon twist. These little guys aren't exactly tanks. They're more like that annoying mosquito buzzing around your ear at 3 a.m. They die fast, but boy, do they come in numbers. You don't get raw power here. No massive fireballs or unstoppable champions. Instead, you get sheer, overwhelming force in the form of hordes. And that can be surprisingly effective when you overwhelm your enemies before they can react. Now, because your units are weak, you'll want to summon as many imps as possible, the King of Blood's version of those fast, cheap Zerglings. And to do that, upgrading your castle becomes an absolute priority. One of the best cards in this faction is the Pagoda, which summons imps straight onto the battlefield. It's basically your little demon factory, pumping out tiny chaos. Another key card, Vampirism, is pretty sweet. It heals your units by 1/4 of the damage they deal, which means your swarm can stick around just a bit longer despite being so fragile. One of my favorite things about the King of Blood is the Demon's Altar. It summons demons that get stronger as your other allies fall. Kind of like that friend who gets fiercer after every embarrassing dance move they survive at a party. This mechanic makes losing units less painful and adds a neat strategic layer where sacrificing some imps can actually buff your heavy hitters. And perks? Oh, they've got some fun ones. Starting the game with a Demon's Altar on a random plot thanks to the Pagan perk is like getting a free bonus level right off the bat. Plus, the Cultist perk starts you with an extra Imp card in your hand, meaning your little swarm can build up even faster. It's all about flooding the field with demons and keeping the pressure on. Switching gears to the King of Nothing. If you're the type who hates choosing favorites, this faction is like a jack of all trades, master of none, but in a good way. They're pretty easy to play, great for beginners, and have a balanced mix of towers, support buildings, and melee and ranged units. Basically, you get a little bit of everything without having to worry too much about the perfect combo. The downside? Well, nothing here stands out as particularly powerful. It's like they show up to the party with a decent playlist, but none of their songs are chart toppers. Every card you use from King of Nothing has a tougher, flashier cousin in another faction. Still, that doesn't mean they're bad. They're just reliable and solid. Some of their best cards include the Paladin, a sturdy melee defender who can soak up damage and hold the line. Then there's the Wild card, a super versatile card that can level up any plot, giving you flexibility when the battlefield shifts. The Blacksmith card buffs adjacent units by increasing their attack damage, making your little army hit harder, and Steel Coat cancels the first hit a unit takes, which is like giving your soldiers a free get-out-of-jail card once per battle. And perks? The Nurturer perk gives your troops a 10% health boost per rank, which makes your units tougher to take down, while Hoarder starts you with an additional faction card per rank, giving you more options in hand early on. It's a faction that plays it safe and steady, great if you want to learn the ropes without getting overwhelmed by gimmicks or frail units. So, if you like the idea of swarming your enemies with tiny demons that die in droves but heal themselves as they wreak havoc, King of Blood is your go-to. But if you want a chill, balanced faction that doesn't demand perfect strategy execution, King of Nothing is a solid no-surprises pick. Both have their charms. It all comes down to how you like to roll in 9 kings. The factions in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, King of Greed and King of Stone. Alright, listen up. If you think money can't buy you power, then you clearly haven't met the King of Greed. This faction is basically the show me the gold of 9 kings. The more gold you stack, the harder your punches hit. It's like every coin jingling in your purse whispers sweet buffs to your units, especially your offensive ones. But here's the catch. If your gold runs dry, you're basically a sitting duck, because this deck is seriously money dependent. Now, let me tell you about some absolute gems in the King of Greed's arsenal. Take the Beacon, for example. It's like a hype man for your troops, giving adjacent units a 2% attack speed boost every turn. Slow and steady? Nah, this guy says, let's speed things up. Then there's the Dispenser, hands down one of the best towers in the game. But you better have a fat gold income or it's just a fancy decoration. And Mercenary? Oh boy, if you're swimming in cash, this melee card basically gives you 1 unit for every 15 gold pieces you have. It's like a money-to-muscle converter. But here's a word to the wise. Don't overdo it with overinvest. The card that boosts your unit's stats by 15% for 30 gold. It's tempting, sure, but if you're leaning heavily on those mercenaries and dispensers, you'll want to save your gold for them instead. Overinvest is a bit like seasoning. Great in moderation, but too much can spoil the dish. When it comes to perks, the King of Greed really shines. The Peddler perk lets you snag shop purchases for free, which means more gold saved for all those units and upgrades. Plus, Persistent gives you 2 free card rerolls per rank. That's like having cheat codes for your deck building. Can't argue with that kind of flexibility. Now shifting gears to the King of Stone, this is the Fortress faction, the true defensive juggernaut. If you're a fan of turtle strategies and making your enemies cry at your impenetrable walls, this faction is your best buddy. Offense? Not really their thing. They're more about holding the line, slow and steady, until your enemies run out of steam. King of Stone's best cards are all about setting the stage for defense. Flame Tower takes its sweet time to get to your foes, but once it does, it's a literal wall of fire, burning everything down and becoming unstoppable. Trapper might seem useless at the start, but by the later stages of the war, those traps are like little landmines that make your enemies wish they stayed home. Then there's Earthworks, a sneaky card that removes a card from a plot, returns it to your hand, and even unlocks adjacent plots. It's super versatile. Probably the most useful card in the whole game if you ask me. And don't forget Wallmaker, the builder of literal walls around your kingdom. More walls mean more time to breathe and prepare, which is exactly what the King of Stone needs. The perks for this faction really complement its defensive style. Fortifier boosts your tower's damage by 10% per rank, and Tactician starts you off with one random tower card per rank. Basically, you're getting defensive goodies thrown at you from the start. So yeah, King of Greed is like that flashy, risk-it-all gambler who wins big if you play your gold right, while King of Stone is the steady, no-nonsense guardian who makes sure your castle doesn't turn into rubble. Both have their own kind of charm, but knowing when to go all in on offense or turtle up in defense, that's what makes Nine Kings a wild ride. Which one fits your style? Are you the money-hungry monarch or the stone-cold fortress builder? The factions in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, King of Spells and King of Nature. Oh, you blinked? Too bad, the King of Spells just turned your army into sparkly confetti. This faction is a pure offensive powerhouse, and honestly, it feels like cheating when you play it right. The King of Spells brings the kind of raw magical firepower that makes other factions question their life choices. Sure, it does not come with a bodyguard squad of beefy tanks, but when you're melting the map with chain lightning and summoning more spells than a Saturday night Dungeons & Dragons session, who needs defense? Let's talk cards. The Wizard? Absolutely cracked. It is one of the best ranged units in the game. Throw a static buff on it and watch it become a lightning machine gun. Then there's the Warlock, a tank unit that also deals area of effect damage. Think of it as the magical equivalent of a wrecking ball wearing a robe. And don't sleep on the Citadel. Its chain lightning damage can clear entire lanes like it is spring cleaning. Oh, and Offering? Just casually destroy a plot and get 3 random cards. Who doesn't like a little chaos? As for perks, the King of Spells pairs beautifully with Ruthless, which gives your castle attack a chance to instantly eliminate enemies. Max this perk, and suddenly your base becomes a sniping turret of doom. Then there's Ingenious, which gives you extra castle upgrades. Basically, more magical tools to torment your enemies. And yes, it feels as good as it sounds. Now let's shift gears to the King of Nature. The faction that shows up with a flower crown, heals your units, and probably recycles better than you do. This one is all about support. If the King of Spells is your chaotic friend who solves everything with explosions, the King of Nature is your gentle buddy who shows up with snacks, buffs, and mushrooms that shoot lasers. Speaking of mushrooms, Mycelium is a tower-style card that passively attacks enemies. Stick it on a key plot, and you've got a fungal sniper. Clone is another must-have card. It lets you duplicate the card on the selected plot. Suddenly that perfect setup? Double it. Then there's Procreate, which adds 9 units to the selected troop. It is disgustingly good in the early game and makes your army feel endless. And don't underestimate the Forest, which gives a small but sweet health bonus to adjacent units every year. It adds up fast. Now for perks. You definitely want to invest in Pollinator, which lets you start the game with a Mycelium already on the board. Free tower defense? Yes, please. Then there's Nurturer, which gives your units a health boost right out of the gate, 10% per rank. That means your troops will not only look greener, they'll live longer too. So here's the vibe. If you want to blast everything in sight, go with King of Spells. If you prefer to grow a small ecosystem of Eternal Warriors, then King of Nature is your soulmate. Just don't forget, whether you're zapping enemies into dust or hugging trees for buffs, strategy is key. And maybe, just maybe, throwing mushrooms at your problems is a valid life philosophy. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.